Hello, this is Hep Munson, former producer of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Yes, I'm back at the wheel, but this ship isn't going anywhere at the moment. At the end of 2023, I talked about navigating the strange waters of public access. Now at the end of 2024, those waters have dried up for Arlington Independent Media. I have searched the usual media sources to see how Arlington's public was being informed, but unfortunately, much of that unhappy task seems to have fallen to me, an exile of sorts, producing remotely from Hagerstown, Maryland.
Hello, and welcome to the Arlington Whenever News. Back in 1981, this show was known as the Arlington Weekly News, and that name was retained for over 40 years. However, times have changed. Back in 1981, television programs were broadcast on a regular schedule. A weekly show would have its first airing on a specific day of the week and at a specific time. That meant that anyone who wanted to watch would need to tune in at that time, or at least set a recording device to capture the broadcast. Thanks to the rise of internet sites like YouTube, that is no longer necessary. Would-be viewers can now watch whenever they wish. That's why this show is called AWN, Arlington Whenever News. From a production standpoint, there is no longer a problem with what used to be called a slow news week. There is no longer the need to adhere to a specified recording schedule. Like the old Mr. Ed, it will never speak unless it's got something to say. However, for this first show, there is definitely something to say. The story of the decline in the fortunes of Arlington Independent Media arguably began around the year 2016, but that part of its history is for a different project. Here is what I can tell you about recent events, starting from my own perspective. I had been asking since 2022 if I could purchase one of the older used cameras in the Arlington Independent Media collection. Finally, in March of 2024, I received permission to make the purchase. However, 2 days before the scheduled transaction, some bad news arrived in the form of a letter from AIM's CEO. Dear Arlington Independent Media members and supporters, it is with heavy hearts that we must inform you of a significant change within Arlington Independent Media. After careful consideration and evaluation of our current financial situation, we regret to inform you that all staff members will be laid off today, Monday, the 18th of March, effective close of business. This decision was not made lightly, and we understand the impact it will have on both our team members and the community we serve. We want to express our deepest gratitude for the dedication, passion, and hard work that each member of our team has contributed to AIM over the last 2.5 years. While this news may come as a shock, please know that it was made in the best interest of sustaining AIM's mission and ensuring the future viability of community media in Arlington, whatever shape it takes. We appreciate your understanding and continued support during this challenging time. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to the remaining members of AIM's Board of Directors at bod@arlingtonmedia.org.
Thank you for your understanding. Best, Whitney H. Kernodle, Esquire, CEO. Wanting more information, I looked on the Arl Now news site, and there was a story. Here are some extracts. Amid its stalled move from Clarendon to Courthouse, Arlington Independent Media is being audited by the county, according to the nonprofit's leadership. Meantime, simmering divides among the organization's leadership, AIM members, and people currently or formerly on AIM's board of directors boiled over this week. Board Chair Chris Judson announced his resignation today, Thursday, after assuming the role in December, continuing the board's high turnover rate. More than a dozen AIM members and former board members signed an open letter released today, March 13, 2024, alleging financial mismanagement and calling for a special meeting. The letter has enough signatures to require the special meeting, according to one signing member, Lynn Borton. The Arl Now article provided a link to that letter. Here are some extracts. We, the undersigned AIM members and supporters of community media, wish to set the public record straight regarding the management and circumstances of Arlington Independent Media. We believe AIM members, Arlington residents, and Arlington County leaders have been misled about AIM's financial health and well-being. Social media messages in the last week suggest that AIM is imperiled because the county is withholding funds. In fact, AIM has been grossly mismanaged. Those actions and inactions are detailed below. Specifically, AIM is not in financial peril because Arlington County is withholding funds that were allocated for the organization's use. In fact, AIM has received almost $2 million in support from the county in the last 2 years. In fiscal year 2023, Arlington County budgeted for AIM to receive $381,000 in operating funds. According to AIM's annual report, in fiscal year 23, AIM received a total of $1,053,142, of which $383,579 were operating funds, plus $669,833 in PEG funding from Arlington County. In fiscal year 24, current fiscal year, Arlington County budgeted for AIM to receive $381,000 plus $126,000 in one-time funds. In fiscal year 24 to date, AIM has received $766,000. Since January 1st, 2024, AIM has received $125,000 quarterly operating funds plus $220,000 in PEG funds. Still pending is the final $125,000 in operating funds, scheduled for April 1st, 2024. AIM leadership appears to have misused PEG funds. Per the cable franchise agreement and reiterated in the January 2024 Memo of Understanding between AIM and Arlington County, PEG funds may not be used for salaries, occupancy, or office operations. According to AIM's fiscal year 23 annual report, distributed at the annual meeting in December, AIM received $383,579 in operating support. Additional income, totaling $69,469, was also reported as having come from membership, donations, sponsorships, and programming and commercial productions. Given AIM's own annual report, the organization would, at best, have had operating funds available totaling $453,048. Yet, the annual report states that the organization expended $622,937 in employee compensation, $671,609 on professional fees, and another $106,303 in combined occupancy, office operations expenses. It goes on to state, AIM leadership has been reckless in managing its financial obligations. In August 2023, when staff were reportedly working without pay and the treasurer recommended areas for significant cuts and new controls, no action was taken. The letter goes on to state that AIM has failed to perform annual audits. The last audit completed by AIM was approved in October 2021, prior to the current CEO's hire. No audit has been completed since, despite Arlington County's explicit requirements for PEG funding. On March 6, 2024, Arlington County served AIM with a notice of audit and informed management that no more funds, PEG or operational, will be coming to AIM until the county-executed audit is completed. Also, AIM management has failed to complete IRS reporting and filing of IRS Form 990 in a timely manner. The 2020-990 was reviewed and adopted by the AIM Board in October 2021. It was due for submission in December 2021, but was not filed until April 2022. The 2021-990 was due in December 2022, but was not filed until November 2023. AIM has reportedly sought an extension for the 2022-990, which should have been filed in December 2023. If an organization fails to file its Form 990 for 3 consecutive years, the IRS automatically revokes its non-profit status. The letter goes on to state that AIM appears to be failing to meet its obligation to the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, as specified in its license for radio station WERALP. The station has been broadcasting repeated filler music and no other programming for more than 100 days since December 1st, 2023. AIM is neither operating the station in a compliant manner, nor has it obtained FCC permission to pause operations. Despite AIM being incorporated as a membership organization, AIM leadership has failed to communicate with members and has ignored members' central role in the organization. Members have not been provided annual reports that meet requirements of the bylaws or any regular communication or reporting. Members have not been informed of the current staff furlough and have no information about how to communicate with the organization. Producers and members were not notified that their shows were not being broadcast. Members and the public have been substantially and purposefully misled by recent communications about county funding. Therefore, the undersigned members are taking the following actions. We call for a special meeting of the AIM members. We hereby request AIM's board president call a special meeting of the members to be held on April 17, 2024. We express our unqualified and deep dissatisfaction with the failures of AIM leadership's stewardship of the organization and county funding. We do not support any actions to dissolve, disband, or otherwise shutter AIM that may be taken prior to the special meeting of the members. We do not support any action taken to transfer the WERALP license to another entity without consultation with the membership. That letter was dated March 14th, 2024. After examining the open letter, I returned to the ARL Now article.
There were differing visions for AIM, former board chair Judson writes. The more expansive version is not achievable in the current financial environment, especially considering the recently proposed county budget for the upcoming fiscal year. In light of that, I have stepped down from the board so that others can take the next steps, which include responding to the audit and refocusing the organization on community broadcast. I wish them and the organization success in that endeavor. The audit, initiated this month, has tamped money flowing to AIM from cable subscription-generated revenue that the county, schools, and organizations like AIM can tap into for capital expenses. AIM has so far received about $220,000 of the $368,000 in public, educational, and government, or PEG, funds, and recent social media posts by the organization urge supporters to tell the Arlington County Board this weekend to release the remaining funds. The freeze in funding from the county has created a crisis within our organization, CEO Whitney Kernodle said in a letter published this week. Without these funds, we are unable to meet our financial obligations, including paying our dedicated staff and freelance engineers and other teammates who are instrumental in keeping our organization running smoothly. Arlington County says it is pulling back until it wraps up this review. The Arlington County Board and county staff continue to monitor requests made by Arlington Independent Media for PEG funding and are performing due diligence in reviewing previous expenditures before determining next steps, County spokesperson Ryan Hudson told ARL Now in a statement. This has prevented the build-out of AIM's TV and radio stations, station manager Alvin Jones told ARL Now, which means more days without TV programming and more continuous lo-fi beats for viewers and listeners. He adds that the audit has made it more difficult to fundraise, which the county has asked the organization to ramp up. The plans, desires, and hopes of our bright future are now in limbo, he said. This limbo causes the newly founded contracts and relationships to allocate their funds to other organizations. The AIM members who are calling for the meeting, meanwhile, allege that AIM is interpreting what is PEG eligible too broadly to include operating costs it cannot afford. Citing the 2023 annual report, they say that AIM reported spending $622,937 on employee compensation and $104,662 on office operations, yet only netted $453,048 in funds that can go to operating costs such as salaries. One AIM staffer confirmed furloughs from December to mid-January and again starting in March. AIM plans to focus on building out the radio station to get pre-recorded radio shows out as soon as the PEG funds are released. the staffer said. Kristen Clark, the former Director of Community Engagement for AIM, stressed that every person speaking up right now wants somewhere to share their music and ideas and to tell stories that could have only come from right here in Arlington. In a letter, Ms. Clark said,
"We have never needed community media more than we do right now in 2024. At its very best, a community media center has the power to cut through the polarization and algorithm bubbles and doom scrolling and reconnect neighbors to each other across demographic divides so that we can tell a shared story that is by and about and for us."
After reading the Arl Now article, I went to the Arlington County government website to see their version of events. I have continued to search that site's news section even up to November of 2024, but the Arlington County government website news has made no mention of Arlington Independent Media since November of 2022. A series of AIM meetings did indeed take place, and I attended all of them via remote connection. I also took notes for most of them, which was helpful because the first meeting on March 25, 2024 was either not recorded or was not provided for later online viewing. The first meeting item was the fact that the radio station WERA was currently off the air pending a move to a new location, probably at 3700 South 4 Mile Run Drive. There had been a plan for it to be located in Clarendon, but the $5,000 monthly rent and the funding freeze made this unworkable. The second item was the need for fundraising. A fundraiser event was announced for some time in April. They also said there would be more information at the general member meeting in April. I offered some suggestions. First, preservation of the Arlington Independent Media video archives. Second, to generate funds, the sale of some of Arlington Independent Media's older equipment. I also suggested opening an AIM YouTube channel expressly for submissions of new radio and video content by member producers so that some kind of broadcasting could continue. The advantage was that such a channel would come at no cost. At the conclusion of the meeting, we were informed that the audit would be completed, quote, as quickly as possible, unquote. The April 17th General Members Meeting took place as scheduled. It was announced that the Board of Directors had terminated the CEO and staff on March 19th. Contractors had been told that AIM has their invoices. Both the TV and radio stations were offline. Arlington County had released only enough money to pay for liability insurance and temporary storage. 2 leases had previously been signed. One at 3700 South 4 Mile Run Drive for $20,000 per year. Another at 2300 Clarendon Boulevard for $40,000 per year for 5 years, and that could only be released by J.B.G. Smith. This was followed by a question and answer session at which I asked if AIM would have a booth at the upcoming Arlington County Fair to help with fundraising. This was the answer I received.
We had one more asking if there will be a booth at the county fair this year.
Would there be a booth at the county fair this year? All right, yes, there will be a booth at the county fair this year.
Finally, it was announced that future AIM board meetings would be open and therefore viewable by members. The next Board of Directors meeting took place on May 2nd, 2024. It was announced that there were 6 open seats on the board and 5 candidates. 4 positions were voted in. At that time, the county ordered audit was, quote, about half done, unquote, but there was no target date for completion. The planned radio facility in Clarendon was to be abandoned since building costs to prepare it were estimated at $100,000. Meanwhile, the landlord, JBG Smith, had informed AIM that JBG Smith would keep the $7,500 security deposit plus the first month's rent. AIM was negotiating with JBG Smith for a way to break the remainder of the lease. A fundraising event was announced for May 23rd. Another Board of Directors meeting was held on May 29th. Unfortunately, the AIM Facebook page had not mentioned the fundraising event, so attendance was sparse, and some of those who had attended hadn't realized that it was supposed to be a fundraiser. It was also announced that JBG Smith would charge AIM $7,574.84 to break their lease. Unfortunately, AIM's bank balance was announced as containing only $125. AIM's indebtedness was estimated at $130,000, and 5 recently terminated employees were owed back pay. Another money problem identified former staffer Linda Lawson's American Express account, which contained $15,000 in AIM charges. A member-based fundraiser was proposed. It was announced that Arlington Independent Media did have an active YouTube channel, but it was not yet available for member submissions. Video recordings of the recent AIM meetings would be uploaded there. The completion of the county-ordered audit was now expected to take until sometime at least in September. In early August, I emailed a board member for details about participating in the AIM booth at the upcoming Arlington County Fair, and was informed that the AIM board had canceled that plan. At the next AIM membership meeting, I asked about the cancellation of the county fair booth and received the following reply.
The not being at the fair was not a money situation. It was purely a decision first on that there was no plan to officially be there. There was a hope and an idea to do it.
The member fundraiser for Linda Lawson's Amex account was announced as a success, with the balance paid in full. It was also announced that there would not be a fundraiser to break the JBG Smith lease. The next Board of Directors meeting was held on September 10th. There was no treasurer's report, but the frozen funds from Arlington County were considered unlikely to be released at all. Meanwhile, AIM still owed JBG Smith the $7,500+ charge for lease termination. AIM had asked if JBG Smith would consider an underwriting agreement in lieu of payment, but they declined. With the Arlington County Fair now past, I asked if any of the AIM board members had attended to at least keep the idea of AIM in the awareness of the Arlington public, but none had. The board then discussed the formation of several volunteer member committees. The next meeting was announced for October 27th. The October 27th meeting included an appearance by Arlington County Board member and AIM liaison Terrence Carantonis. Mr. Carantonis confirmed that, due to the closure of Arlington County's fiscal year at the end of July, the remaining $125,000 of unreleased operating funds, along with the $130,000 of PEG funds, were lost. Arlington County was now considering an AIM support budget allocation of not more than $250,000 for the coming year, but Mr. Carantonis said that even that was not guaranteed. There was more bad news from AIM's treasurer. Arlington County had filed a tax lien against AIM, freezing AIM's only bank account. Members seeking to renew their membership could still mail their dues directly to the AIM treasurer. I mailed a check for my own renewal to AIM at 3700 4 Mile Run Drive on November 14th. Checking my bank account on November 25th, the check remained uncashed. Meanwhile, the former AIM staffers remain unpaid, despite my suggestion and appeal to the Arlington County Board to release enough funding not to penalize them. My most recent email to the County Board from October 17th has not yet been answered.